Hi there and welcome to this week's lesson. So this is the last week of my introductory course to becoming a better artist by practicing drawing. So thanks for those that have made it this far. If you're new to the channel, then I'll leave the link at the end of this if you want to catch up on the series. So we've covered quite a lot of ground, and what I'm hoping is I've given you a real foundation here so that you can take your drawing practice further. So we've covered what I think are the real the fundamentals, building a regular drawing practice. This is probably the most important lesson of the series, and as some of you will have found, it's not easy. We can often get a sort of rush of inspiration, do some drawing, and then in the following weeks something else comes up, things get in the way, and our drawing can be left by the side. So going forward, you need to find ways to keep your drawing practice ticking along. Of course, I recommend, if you can, if you've got art classes nearby or local groups that meet to draw, then taking part in those can be very good. Becoming part of online communities like Instagram, just finding other people that are drawing as well. That can be a great support just to keep you turning up, week after week, and that's where you'll get the main benefits in your drawing practice. So what we're going to be looking at this week is urban sketching. So I mainly picked this because once we've got all these skills, we then need to start thinking about what we want to draw, or the situations we want to get in to practice drawing. So I'm a big fan of life drawing from a model. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Most people might be happy at home just working from reference material, but I think urban sketching is a really excellent way to start to bridge that gap, getting out and sketching from life, in particular in your town, village, wherever you live. Of course, if you live in the countryside, we could still go out and sketch, but you wouldn't call it urban sketching. But there's something about the busyness of life in a sort of town or a city that can give endless opportunities for artists. So what I thought I would do this week is to help you make a start, is just to, I'm firstly just going to show you a few artists and talk about some of the visual styles. Obviously, when you go out drawing a town or a city, there is no end to the amount of different styles you could adapt, but I really like this sort of sketchbook approach here. This is Veronica Lawler's work, and she was one of the artists that really inspired me to make a start with urban sketching years ago. It's one of these things that I've dipped into and dipped out of, and anyway, I really like this sort of loose, sketchy style, incorporating a bit of colour. It's very good. So I'll show you a few artists I like from urban sketching. You might go onto Pinterest, start to look up your own. I'll then show you my collection of what I take out. Of course, you can do it with just very minimal materials, like just a sketchbook and a pencil is fine. What I've found though is I like to get all my materials in one place. That way, if I go out, I can, I know that I've got everything to hand: watercolors, pens, brushes. Okay, and then I actually went out the other day and I managed to film myself doing a bit of urban sketching with mixed results. But I think the main thing to show you is that if you go out sketching, it's not about the results, and it's not about spending half an hour drawing a single building. What I really enjoy about urban sketching is that once you warm up, ideas start to present themselves, and it's that sort of creativity that I think makes it a really amazing practice. Okay, anyway, so we'll start off by going through some of the artists that I really like. So as I say, this is Veronica Lawler. Again, we talked about variety of mark making, and that was last week, and I think you can see here, the thickness of line, the variety of marks is excellent, and it makes for a great study. Okay, so this is another Veronica Lawler. Again, nice handling of the building, almost like continuous line, but you can see something of tackling the complexity. You can see we've got a helicopter up here and we've got all these people. So if you're drawing street scenes and people walking around, you have to work very quickly, but that can introduce a real excitement and energy into your drawings, which I think she's captured here perfectly. So I really like this. Okay, so this is one I found on Pinterest. A Singaporean artist, and again, I love this for the mark making. It's a very complex structure, and yet it's almost been treated in this like continuous line sort of style. A really nice sort of layout, great page, and really communicates a building. So again, very nice drawing. Okay, same artist. Again, very sketchy, very loose, but you know, communicating a lot of visual information. And yeah, there's something about the sort of sketchiness of the drawings that I particularly like. And I've got this one. So technically, this is Pete Brown, who I've mentioned. He's more associated as a plein air artist and less urban sketching. I'm not sure whether this fits the bill for urban sketching. Urban sketching is more often completed in small sketchbooks. This was probably quite a large piece of paper on an easel. However, I think it's still a great example of how the sorts of scenes that you might see every day and walk past, like just some houses with some scaffolding up, can all present really great ideas for drawing. So I like this. If you know Pete Brown's work, he's mainly known for his oil paintings, but if you get a chance to look at his charcoal drawings of urban scenes, you can learn a lot. I mean, if we just look at you can see a sort of shorthand he uses for the windows. That can be, you know, there's a lot of information there about how to capture lots of complex information in very simple mark making. So I've included him here. So this one is from the book From Square One to Trafalgar Square by Richard E. Scott, who you can look up. It was again a book I saw recommended online. I don't know how easy it is to get hold of. I had to get it from America. But it's got some great ideas about sketching, and again, I really like this sort of tonal. You can see how much, you know, all that visual information has been reduced down to simple shapes, and yet incredibly evocative of a street scene. Okay, so there's lots of great artists. As I say, get onto Pinterest, look up urban sketching, start to go through and just try to find the styles and the visual language that you like. Anyway, so now I'm going to show you some of the bits and pieces I take out with me when I go urban sketching. Okay, so the first bit of equipment is the bag. So it's just really useful to have a bag that you put to one side exclusively for your sketching equipment. What I've got here is an old laptop bag, which works really well for me. So I'm able to get quite a lot of equipment in here. So I've got at the moment just a small sketchbook. This one can be used with watercolours or gouache. That's the one I took out with me the other day. Here I've got my little box full of charcoal and Conte crayons and a little bit of putty rubber. So that's always useful to have. This is a little thing with sandpaper, which came with a set I have, which is very handy for sharpening pencils like Conte. What else have we got here? So here's the set of watercolours I'm using at the moment, which someone actually kindly gave me. It's a bit big for urban sketching, but it's got a great range of colours, and a little bit of water gets them going. This is my sort of previous watercolour box that I had. I think it's called a clover leaf box. As you can see, it's empty at the moment, but again, really handy, nice and portable, and yeah, very pleased with that. This is a little, it's vitamin B12, it's a spray, and I just fill that with water. Quite handy if you're doing ink or watercolours and you want to wet the paper. It's another nice little set. As you can see, it does build up over the years, little sets. These are all my pencils and pens. So again, you have to just pick variety here. That's a little pen knife for sharpening pencils. I've got pencil sharpeners in there, putty rubbers. That's a brush pen which can be filled with water. and again is really useful for modifying ink drawings. I like the transparent pencil case as well, makes it easier to see what's going on and pick stuff out. So here is my brushes. So this enables me, if I'm going out and I want to do something more like a watercolour study. I've got a few nice little brushes there. That one is a travel watercolour brush, so I normally keep it in its case. Just a variety of sizes, big to small, for detail. Here is a viewfinder, which again, really good whether you're drawing, sketching, painting. Always good to have a viewfinder to hand to help you with your compositions. And here I've got a little tub. I think that might have had a candle in or something like that, but that's filled with water. It's watertight, so great for taking out for this sort of thing. And what have we got lastly? Some masking tape. Again, really nice if you're going to do something more like a watercolour study. And then finally, this is something that I obtained quite recently, which is really useful, which is a nice sketching stool. So this is the walk stool. I'll put a link below if you're interested in that. And as I say, it folds down, it fits in that bag just about. And one of my students brought it to a sketching class I did at the museum. And I saw it was just a great bit of kit. Now you'll have to excuse the mess. That's not too bad. And just here's a little demo of me trying to put it together. This probably isn't the most, it's not the best YouTube demonstration you'll ever see. The legs were already down, so they can retract. The whole thing can be actually smaller than I had it there. But it's got this very large seat. For a tripod chair, it gives you a nice large seat. And certainly for sketching, it's more than adequate. So normally when I go out sketching, I'll look for a bench, okay? I don't like to be too conspicuous, but that means, you know, it opens up lots of possibilities, and I can sit and work with a little sketchbook on my lap. And, oh, there we go, almost fell over. There we go. And it is actually very comfortable. I could actually take this with me when I'm painting. In fact, the whole urban sketching kit can be taken out when I go life drawing. I'll take it with me. And anyway, so there we go. So there's all my equipment. So this is what I do. I get my bag and then go out for a walk, and just try to keep my eyes peeled for something that might be of interest. So I put the reference picture up in the corner here. Unfortunately, you can't see it from this angle. So what this is a study of a pub in Ipswich called the Dove. And I've speeded it up for you. It took probably about 10 minutes or so, maybe a bit longer actually. It was quite cold. The cold certainly helps to concentrate the mind, and so I was using a Conte pencil for this study. So although I was more interested in actual tonal work, I've started off, as you can see, using a construction method. So I've broken down the building into simplified, more cube-like structures. And there, as you see, this is going back to my lesson on tonal values. I've just established a tonal scale at the side. So yeah, the construction drawing helps me establish the perspective, work out where my eye level is, and then I can build around that. But now I'm concentrating on really a tonal study, okay? So squinting my eyes and just trying to get an approximation of the values in black and white. So as you saw from some of those demonstrations, one of the things I love about urban sketching is the ability to communicate complex objects like buildings with very simple marks. So little suggestions of windows, that can be all you need sometimes. It's really down to, if you can get the perspective right, that will do a lot of the work for you. And the tonal values, as we know now, it's all about squinting, understanding how the tonal values relate to, for example, the sky. Often the buildings will be, even if they're white buildings, will be relatively dark. in comparison. Anyway, so this was my first sketch, and took me a bit longer than my other sketches, but it was a bit of a warm-up, and sometimes you need a bit of a longer study to get you going. You say I knocked it all back there, so maybe I did take it a little bit too dark. I think the putty rubber might have helped at this point, just to pull out a few of the those marks. But I was keen for just to get that sense of the light sky. So that was study number 1. So this next study, unfortunately, my recording of it, because I was using this GoPro camera, some of it was, as you can see, slightly obstructed by my coat there. So I've had to edit it to the end here. This was a little study of the marina down in Ipswich, and I'm just doing a bit of smudging there to finish it off. So again, much more in the sort of theme of almost like continuous line drawing for this one. And again, quite a tonal, really an emphasis on tone, and using the dark buildings to bring out the light of these boats. Okay, so again, a nice little study down at the docks. Now, this is what I wanted to show you is, I haven't got a picture of the chap who I draw, but as I was finishing that drawing, I looked over to my side and I found a chap who was just sitting with his legs hanging over the sort of docks down there, and unfortunately it's not an unfamiliar sight. Someone sitting down by the docks with a can of beer, but there was something about it captured me, and I thought that might make a good study. And this is really what I wanted to talk to you about urban sketching. So it's about the way in which you can do one study and then you'll look up, and before you know it, something has suggested it for your next study. Okay, and this is what makes it a really interesting practice that you won't get from just working from reference at home. The way which ideas, one drawing can lead to another, which can lead to another. So say this was, you know, it's a quick little gestural sketch here, more continuous line than anything. Not getting too bogged down in detail, but I was interested in the way his legs were hanging off that edge there. So that's with a fine line pen, which is another really useful tool for urban sketching. Really lends itself to you know, adding some ink or some watercolours in afterwards. Now, I say it was freezing cold when I did these drawings, so I didn't have time to I didn't really get into the drawings as I might do on perhaps a sunnier day. Also, filming them made me slightly sort of self-conscious in a way. But there we see. So now, if I'd have taken a picture of him, the sketch and the picture, I think they all lend themselves as possible subjects. So I quite like this. You also have to be careful about drawing people. Just, you know, some people aren't too keen. I've never had a problem with anyone saying, you know, can you stop drawing me? But it's the sort of thing that, you know, you really want to do it in a way where you're not overly drawing attention to yourself. So again, it's quick studies, and I say working quickly can bring out something in your drawing. Particularly if you're one of the people, when you start drawing, you tend to draw in a slightly tight, controlled way. Working outdoors will force you to speed up, and it will feel uncomfortable at first, but after a while, good things can happen that you won't get through a more sort of laborious approach. So that was my next sketch. Okay, so I've walked slightly further up the docks here. A more experienced YouTuber might have filmed all this to give you a bit more context, but I've got a few pictures just to show you what I was looking at. So down at the docks at the moment, we've got a coffee stand. So this was me drawing people having a chat whilst grabbing a coffee. As you can see, very quick sketch. Not quite as quick as that because I've speeded it up. That's what I would call somewhere between, it's like a gestural drawing and continuous line. So it's really having a go. So not construction, it's trying to suggest things very quickly. And I like that, so I've got a sense of the pose. Okay, So then just try and pick something else. So this is looking down the docks. This is the picture you can see, and this was an attempt to try and do more of a view than the people. So again, thinking about the perspective, and as you can see, again, using something not unlike a continuous line, just really to keep it moving. So with pen, you're not going to be able to rub out. So it's not a case of getting it correct. It's just a case of, you know, keep looking, keep making marks. So what was this? This was my third drawing. So what you find is if you go out drawing in a day, you know, it's by this point you've started to loosen up a bit, and things are going to be flowing a little bit more than perhaps your first studies. And this is what makes it a great practice. What I find though is I find it best to actually go out and with a deliberate intention to do some sketching. You know, it's nice to have a sketchbook on you, but you know, if you don't have it on you, or if you're with people, you know, it's very rare you're going to get the opportunity just to sit down and get the sketchbook out. So I prefer to go out with a deliberate intention to do some drawing and just see what presents itself. But the trick here is not to overthink it, not to look for the perfect scene, but really just to find a bench or get some sort of chair out, and then just start to look around you. You know, in a way you can just sort of start anywhere, and you can trust that the ideas will eventually present themselves. You'll get sort of more of an intuitive sense of what you want to have a go at. So I love this view just because it has this great sense of space. And for a while back, this was about, let me think, 2006, 2007, around that time, I actually lived quite close to the docks at Ipswich on Fall Street. And I used to come out to this spot. I would actually go for a jog when I was into that, up and down here. And yeah, it's a really nice spot. It has this great sense of space, so that's what I was trying to capture here. So I'm in the process of doing that, and I see this woman walk past with a child, and again, something about the pose grabs me. So next thing, you know, switch to that and start doing another quick study. Now this quick study I was particularly pleased with, because again, I've started to speed up now and relax into it. And now move on to another one. So again, more people having coffee. So as you can see, I've started to I'm not labouring over each piece as much. And this is a bit more like when you're doing life drawing, the quick studies at the beginning of a session. 1 minute, 2 minute sketches, just trying to capture characters, body types. That's a child that just went past me on a bike. And on to another study here. So yeah, I would really recommend this. I think it's an excellent way to, you know, to test your drawing. The challenge of drawing people while they're moving and changing position can seem very overwhelming at first, but the trick is just to make a start, not to be too concerned about the results, and see what happens. And say, if you can make it a habit to, you know, to get out there and sketch from life, you will be amazed at the progress you'll make with your drawing. It's very different from working from reference material. I say the marks you make will be completely different. You will make mistakes, but it tends to change your sort of graphic style. So I really recommend it. And after a while, you'll be able to make, you know, your observation will improve, and you'll be amazed at what you can capture in very sort of in a very short period of time. That's a girl standing there on her mobile phone, which I thought made a nice little study. As you can see, I got interested in the people standing around me. Different coats, different sort of, you know, different poses. And yeah. Okay, so that's what I managed to do in, that's probably about an hour and a half, couple of hours I went out for that little sketching trip. So the trick, I think, is to get the bag, get all your sketching gear together, and then make it a habit every now and again to go out to deliberately sketch. I mean, if you have a handbag or something where you carry your stuff, a rucksack, then maybe just sneaking in a very small sketchbook. You know, you never know when the opportunity might present itself. Reinforcing the idea that I've been saying to you all along, which is, you know, if you want to develop your drawing, get into the habit of practicing. The more you practice, the better you'll become, and hopefully the better you become, the more you'll enjoy it, and you'll create this positive cycle. Anyway, thanks a lot for joining me on this course. It's been great to see some of the student work that's been handed in each week, and keep in touch, and I'll look forward to seeing how you get on in the future. Okay, many thanks, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.